When I was a kid, I called him King of the Red Loins.
Nice.
And then my brother laughed at me and I didn't get it.
Three of the greatest games to grace the Nintendo GameCube, but only one can continue. Today, Austin Hargrave, Jeff Fabre, Jared Knabenbauer, and Shane Gill join me, Forrest Lee, as we see which of these titles goes to the winner's finals. It's Super Mario Sunshine, The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and Resident Evil 4, and this is Madness. Welcome to the winner's bracket of GameCube Madness. It's three of the most beloved games on the entire console today. Super Mario Sunshine versus The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker versus Resident Evil 4. I think this is the first three-for-all where we don't have one that we can easily just be like...
Just knock one of them out.
Send it upstate, you know?
What was the terminology?
Stretcher
them. We're not stretchering any of these.
You call it a winner's bracket, but I don't think anyone wins today.
Yeah. Who wants to start on this?
So, okay.
Where do we start?
Two of these games are kind of similar in their style and atmosphere, and then there's Resident Evil 4.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
a horror action game versus kind of
all,
more...
All three of these games do involve water in some way.
What is it with, like, the GameCube and, like, beaches and oceans and
That's
stuff?
codename was Dolphin.
I guess so. That explains it.
Well, how about... Is there anything that you could distinguish from any of these games as something you don't like? Maybe
we talked about some of the stuff in Mario Sunshine.
Maybe like something really stands out.
I still hold my idea that the not being able to choose the shines you want to do really holds the game back. It's not like I'm nitpicking because it's a great game, but it's something that definitely bothers me when I replay the game.
Something that bothers me about Sunshine specifically is every time you get a blue coin,
it makes you say
stops you.
Luigi's Mansion does that too.
Yeah, it does that in that as well.
No, we're talking.
But it stops you completely. You have to click save or continue, and it's just like no matter what you do, you have to stop whenever you get one of those coins.
Yeah.
And it's really annoying and just takes you right out of everything that's happening.
Like even when you're just in Delfino Plaza, getting blue coins, it's like, okay, I know.
I get it. It's not annoying until like you've done it like 10 plus times, and you're just like, oh my god, I have to do this every time.
Once you get to the point where you're trying to get all the shines. And now you're just like, I'm gonna go after the blue coin ones. Yeah. And you're hunting there for that specifically. Then it's over and over and over again. I could say that's annoying. For Sunshine, I still say some of the stages are just sucky.
Yeah, lackluster stages.
Some of them are worse than others.
I think the like overworld world progression is weird because they just kind of put a dark tint over like the Delfino Plaza part.
It's cloudy, and the clouds are parting.
One thing that we didn't talk about.
It brought color to the area.
The more shines you get, the brighter it gets.
Yeah.
It just looked like they put like 10% black opacity.
It just encourages you to get more shines, you know? One thing that we didn't talk about much for Super Mario Sunshine that I actually do like is all the levels, at least the ones that I'm remembering, are themed around the island, as opposed to certain other games like Mario 64 where it's just like, oh, okay, well, here's a bomb battlefield. It's like a crazy place. And you can even see the levels in the distance, so it really feels like I'm just on this island.
Yeah,
you know?
in the background of a bunch of levels, like you can see Peanut Park.
Yeah.
As much crap as I was just giving the overworld, it is a connected overworld for like the first time in a Mario game, where it's like you're going there, you're going there.
Yeah, I can't think of that. I mean, they do it in some Mario Kart games, but I can't think of any other actual Mario game where you can see the levels in the background.
Where it's like a consistent place.
I can see why someone might see that as a strength, but I think I honestly prefer the way Mario 64
I was gonna say, does that make it better?
Because there's no limitation in what they can do.
There is no ice world in Mario Sunshine.
Oh no.
That's a positive.
They could have some cool things with freezing the water on a flood.
Some cool
things.
That's
true.
And there's always good ice music. I'm missing all that good ice music.
Ice music is usually very good, especially in Mario games.
We need some jingle bells in there.
Structurally, though, Wind Waker and Sunshine are similar in those regards, where it's a kind of open field exploration.
Ocean world.
You can see where you're going. And
Resident Evil 4 is much more linear in comparison.
But linear is not always bad.
I don't mean that as a negative. It's just a point of comparison.
It's a neutral term.
It's also more violent.
Definitely more violent, that's for sure.
It has better shooting mechanics than Super Mario.
Yeah, Super Mario Sunshine shooting
I
mechanics.
don't know if Resident Evil's more violent. I think Super Mario Sunshine's made me rage a few times.
Yeah.
Super Mario Sunshine, you can shoot flood and move.
Oh, that's true.
There's
like,
But not when you
there's
go
kinda
over the
some
shoulder, when you hold it all the way
strafe
down, though, you're locked down.
Yeah,
well,
that's why you
that's-
don't.
That's also
Well,
what Leon has
you have
to do.
sometimes.
I'm just saying.
Leon also plants his feet down
Yeah.
and is like,
And I'm
So
saying,
he can aim better.
I'm saying Sunshine, you can move at all. Your move, Resident Evil 4. And when you click it all the way, it does like a shotgun water. Resident Evil.
you had to buy a shotgun in that.
Right, Resident Evil 4, you get a rocket launcher. Mario Sunshine, you get rocket launched.
You ever tried
Good
to
point for making
You
so
ever
far.
tried to rocket jump? You ever tried to rocket jump in Resident Evil 4? You just die.
Yeah.
That's a comparison.
I guess like one big point maybe has to do with like story elements, because Sunshine doesn't really have much of a story.
The story is lackluster.
Can you fault a Mario game for not having a story?
Well, I don't think the
In
problem
comparison
is,
to the other games,
I
We
maybe.
have to
I don't
compare
think the
them.
problem is that it doesn't have a story, because I think it has more of a story than most other Mario
That's
platformers.
true. It
But it's
does.
just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just bad. But we also have Wind Waker and Resident Evil, which have like long form stories
Resident Evil story is not
versus
that
like
It's campy and fun.
Yeah, I like it.
It's a sci-fi
I like the
movie.
voice
And Wind
acting.
Waker's story is serviceable and interesting.
Yeah, it's really none of the games have a super strong story. Wind Waker has some intriguing things, like when you go down to the Hyrule and you realize that the whole world was just like
Frozen.
Yeah,
That was really
Like,
cool.
Wind Waker is a lot more about environmental storytelling in that sense. Like, oh, what
Yeah,
happened
the
to this
good
area? Yeah.
Yeah, I like how you plant all the little Deku seeds or whatever, and then the idea is like, oh wow, over time it's gonna grow back to like Hyrule again.
I think a lot of those elements might actually make it like a better game, because like a lot of its areas are more integrated into the story better than like Resident Evil, which is like I'm in village
I'm in a
and
castle.
then I'm in castle and now I'm in military complex. Like even though like
Now
that's
I'm in
just the
bug cave.
location of where the game takes place, it's not as like varied or interesting as Wind Waker.
Yeah, every island you go to, or at least every major island in Wind Waker you go to, feels like a unique place, even though they're all in the same like biome of island. You have Wind Island, you have Tree Island.
Ice Island, Fire
Ice
Island.
Mm-hmm.
I think Wind Waker and Mario Sunshine have better music overall.
I
can't even think of a Resident
That's
Evil
true.
song.
Yeah.
You don't hum the chainsaw to yourself?
Not
Yeah,
recently.
The music in Resident Evil 4 is more just atmospheric and sets like a mood.
Resident Evil 4 had good sound effects though.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying to like roundhouse kick somebody because
Yeah.
Much like you were talking about before, like they really nailed like the impact of
yeah.
all melee attacks or even like the guns. Like you feel those hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
It's
sound
it's
has a lot to do
visceral.
with
It also has a lot of good memey sound bites in it.
That said, Wind Waker's is still better in terms of sound effects. And one of my favorite parts about Wind Waker, which I feel like is not brought up enough, is Wind Waker's contextual music.
Just
Oh yeah, that's
good.
great. I
Just
love
before
that.
you move on to that point, this show uses a lot of Wind Waker's sound effects because they're so good.
Right.
Like for swooshes and transitions and stuff.
An example of contextual music
Yeah.
would be like versus the Phantom Ganon fight. Super, super cool, epic fight. Really cool music going. And then when you start doing the volley of the energy back and forth, every
The
time
pitch changes.
Every time
Yeah.
you hit the volley, it does an arpeggio up and down, and like the pitch changes, it goes back and back. And if you nail it, it does like a super exciting bam 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 bam
Yeah.
bam. But if it
Oh,
hits
yeah.
you, it does like really low tone piano, and it goes back to the same song. It's super cool.
Even when you just like doing the basic combo on enemies, like dun
Yeah,
dun dun dun.
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's like they use that. Like that's like its own reward.
It almost masks the fact that Wind Waker's combat's not that good.
Whoa!
Didn't expect that from you, but
Explain
I also
yourself.
I agree a little bit.
All I'll say is
I don't think you're wrong.
Go do the trials in Wind Waker, you know, the cave trial, and then do the Twilight Princess one, and then tell me Wind Waker does not have weak combat. It does. But the thing that annoys me the most is when you knock over like Bokoblin enemies and stuff, you can't do anything. You just have to sit there and wait for them to get up. Like realistically, they're down. You should be able to like end them.
Jump up.
That was solved in Twilight Princess.
yeah,
too.
in Twilight Princess they
But you
fixed
can
that.
spin around a Dark Nut and cut his armor
Which
off.
is cool, really, really cool. Like the first 25 times you do it.
That's fair.
Basically
You can
makes-
pick up his weapon.
But you can only do one simple attack.
I was going
with
to
it.
bring that up because compared to, say, Sunshine or Resident Evil 4, I think Wind Waker has a lot of wasted elements. Like being able to pick up your enemy's
I
weapons.
kind of agree. I remember they made a big deal out of that.
Genuinely or generally pretty useless to pick up the other.
Yeah,
like
they
you-
made a deal out of it,
Yeah.
and it ended up really kind of letting me down. I was like, wow, you can pick
It's
up
a-
your enemy's weapons, but it's
We-
really
we
not that
It's a
mentioned-
cool.
cool thing.
We mentioned yesterday how Wind Waker was kind of like Proto Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild took that idea and then did something with it.
Yes. So between
Yeah.
that and I liked the stealth missions of Wind Waker, where like you're sneaking
didn't
into
mind
the
them.
fortress and you're siddling and all that.
They can be kind of tedious.
crawling around.
but
It's like, yeah, all right, okay, and that's it.
at least it was something different.
Yeah.
And it was kind of lame that it was at the beginning of the game, because it's kind of a slow beginning when you're doing that.
It makes
agree.
sense at the beginning while you're not
It
as
does.
strong.
It does make sense, but
But yeah,
it's kind
they
of.
could have
I
done
definitely
something
heard- It doesn't
later.
bother me personally, but I've definitely heard a lot of people complain about that first mission, and it kind of is a hindrance if you want to restart the game. It's like, oh man, I gotta get through the freaking Forsaken Fortress again. But I mean, you can do it much quicker once you've done it once. But
I will say for like out of any of the games, like especially between Wind Waker and Resident Evil, I think there's more going on combat wise in Wind Waker, even if you don't like it as much than Resident Evil. In Resident Evil, you're just kind of
You have a lot more variety in weapons. You have a
in
lot
Resident
more
Evil.
No,
or
in Wind Waker.
In
yeah.
Wind Waker, yeah.
Like,
yeah, all the extra items you can
Yeah,
get.
arrows, bow, like
The
There's a
hammer.
lot-
Yeah.
a lot
well,
of
in Resident Evil, you have
ways
gun,
to-
gun, other gun, bigger
That's
gun.
not fair. Like,
I'm making a
Yeah.
joke.
but I think that would be similar
Okay,
to
yeah.
saying, In Wind Waker, you have a weapon and
in
weapon
Mario
and-
Sunshine,
I know.
you can
I-
kill someone by jetpacking over them.
To be fair, I already complimented Resident Evil 4 with how many weapon upgrades and options you can make. That's one of my favorite things about replaying it.
That's a really good point. Resident Evil 4 has a way better inventory system than Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I love the inventory
Mm,
system.
That
I'm
inventory system in
sure-
Resident Evil 4 is so tasty.
I'm sure it wasn't the first game to do that like grid-based thing, but it like
Did
and
other
it worked
Resident
really
Evils
well.
do that?
No,
It was the first Resident Evil.
All the
that did
Resident
it.
Evils
Okay.
did not do it, but I can't think of another game
Yeah.
that did do that.
Like beforehand.
I always liked it. It made
I
me
might be
feel like I
wrong.
was organizing my own inventory.
I feel like Resident Evil 0 did?
Nope.
No?
No, Resident Evil 0, you
I'm-
can just drop stuff on the ground, and then anytime you have to move on to another section, you have to go back and pick it up.
Oh,
Ah.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, so that sounds weird, but Resident Evil 4's like inventory system like that was its own form of a mini game of sorts.
Put
And it
your
was
guns
really,
in the
really
top, put your
satisfying
grenades in the
when you
bottom right.
Yeah, when you're arranged
Yeah.
in such a way, it's like cool. Now I got this first aid spray because I made room for it. Like you're rewarding yourself
Yeah.
by keeping yourself organized. Clean your room.
Managing inventory can be fun.
Yeah.
It's fun when a game limits your inventory because it makes you think a lot more about what you're going to do and what you're going to spend your money on and things like that.
Versus just like I have this number of weight I can carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even
Slots.
Zelda games
Yeah.
where it's like, well, I'm clearly going to get an item here. I just don't know what it is yet. It's going to show up at some point.
What about like progression in general throughout all the games?
Well, if we're talking about progression, I think Resident Evil 4 has the cleanest arc because like
You get stronger over time.
yeah, and in Wind Waker you have you have to like stop and do like a whole bunch of different basically fetch quests.
You do have to do a lot of side stuff in Wind Waker.
Like I don't even necessarily think that's bad, but
Mario Sunshine, you get new flood things over time, but
Two of them.
yeah, not a lot. This was going to say, not
and
a whole
Yoshi.
lot. And a
and a
Yoshi.
Yoshi.
You do get Yoshi.
Yeah, but they also do a weird anti-progression thing where they do the certain stages where they take FLUDD away, and then like now you're just playing as Mario, and like those are still some of the coolest stages.
And they
Galaxy
still.
Station?
I wish they'd let you do the long jump
They
in
still,
those.
yeah, they still took away
yeah.
the movement options.
Yeah, that would have
which
been
is weird.
cool.
Yeah.
Coming from
the
Mario
first,
64.
The first time I got one, I was like, yeah, I can do the long jump now, I bet. And I didn't do it, and then I died.
Imagine if you had never played Mario 64 though, and didn't know anything about the long jump, and you went to those stages.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something you brought up Mario 64. I want to say when it comes to like Sunshine in particular, how do you feel about Sunshine compared to like the other Mario games?
Sounds good.
I think we've hit on this before, but there are definitely some lower points in Sunshine. I can't think of another Mario game that I played where I just had that many ragey moments where I'm just like, oh my god.
I just
like,
remembered some real like
There's some
dumb
points.
stuff in Sunshine. Remember the one where you lose FLUDD and like your only way of winning is going up to like the Delfino the Pinta dudes who like flip you backwards.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And you just gotta
Yeah.
hope to God you land.
And then there's the fight against Bowser Jr. when you're on the roller coaster and like you can barely.
Oh, God.
change your
I'd like
direction.
blocked that from my memory.
Yeah.
That was just like, it just took so long.
The freaking water stage with the water slide, and you have to get all the coins on it, and it's. I wish I could remember what it was called. I remember raging like crazy on that
I think
one.
Sunshine is unarguably good, but it's definitely one of the weaker 3D Mario.
I mean, right now
It
in this bracket, I do think Sunshine is the weakest contender.
It has some really.
Yeah, and I was saying that basically because I was like, I think Wind Waker might be one of the strongest Zelda games, and also Resident Evil 4 is like notoriously one of the best Resident Evil games
Changed
comparatively.
that franchise.
Yeah, they took it in a different direction, but it really paid off.
I arguably think that influenced the whole like third-person shooter genre. I'm not sure.
absolutely.
I'm
Yeah,
not sure
no,
we
it
would
did
have gotten
for-
Gears of War without
No.
that.
Oh,
Yeah, no, like that. They basically like pioneered like third-person shooting in like that style.
It kind of pains me to say this, especially because I feel like Mario Sunshine. I think part of it is really just the aesthetic. It's so happy and sunny and wow, I'm on vacation and stuff. And I mean, it's also a fun game in its own right. But I feel like it's almost not fair to have it up against Wind Waker and Resident Evil 4. Like that in of itself, just those two alone is hard enough.
It's like a 9 out of 10 game against two 10 out of 10 games.
Yeah, it really does kind of feel like that to me. It sucks. I'm just about ready to discount.
Yeah, before we
Sunshine.
stretch your Sunshine, I guess, it is worth mentioning that it does have the most evil Gilvasoner song.
It does, yeah.
Where, yeah, it's just the Delfino Plaza theme, but it never starts and it's...
Okay.
Just start!
I think a big thing between all of the games is that I think Sunshine does have like the lowest low points between all three. But when I also think of like the highest high points, I lean towards Resident Evil 4. Because like there's some exciting things that happen in Resident Evil 4.
There's some really fun moments in
Wind
that
Waker
game.
has
There
some
really
like
are.
cool things, but nothing like where you're going into like, oh yeah, this part. Whereas when I play Resident Evil 4 again, I'm like, oh yeah, this part, let's do it.
Dude, the boss that I forget his name, the big tough dude that's at the beginning, like the first half of the game, and then you finally fight him.
Sadler?
And not
In the barn?
In the barn, yeah. His name is Sadler. You're right,
Sadler,
yeah.
yeah.
Sadler, and then he turns into that creepy bug thing and just grows.
Yeah, and then you shoot him in half, and the upper half gets up. We're like, oh god.
I always look forward to that boss fight, and I can't think of another fight in Wind Waker except for Puppet Ganon, which is really good. I feel like some of the boss fights are kind of weak in Wind Waker. I feel like Resident Evil 4 has great bosses.
Well, we talk about iconic moments in these games. I feel like Wind Waker really does have some really great moments. When I think of Zelda, like the first two things I think of are when everything like comes alive inside the Hyrule Castle,
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
and
great.
and the Wind Waker final fight against Ganon with all the wall of
You
water.
literally sword fight
Yeah,
Ganondorf.
even just like
you just stab that motherfucker in the skull, and then he turns to stone, and all the water collapses in on you, and then the credit sequence
Oh yeah, and you
comes
have
on.
that great scene where you're like, your hand,
Yeah.
and the King of Red Lion.
Why did he just come with you?
He's like, peace, bro.
Yeah.
He was like, I must rest.
I must rest now. Dude, just come on. I need a
was
boat. Get over here. How am I going to sail on the oceans?
Speaking of the King of Red Lions, I think he's one of the best companion characters in the entirety of Zelda.
I disagree.
Really?
I thought he was one of the most uninteresting.
Really? He was the least annoying, in my opinion.
Least annoying, yes.
Yeah.
But I really don't feel he was a guy to like go here now. I really don't think he was an interesting thing to talk to.
I did, because I always imagined his voice as Sean Connery.
He does kind of give off that vibe.
Let's go over here, Link.
I mean, I do hear his voice is going, hey.
I always imagine.
I always feel like I can do his
Sean
voice
Bean.
pretty good. When I was a kid, I called him King of the Red Loins.
Nice.
And then my brother laughed at me and I didn't get it. I think I might have had mild dyslexia when I was a kid.
There are some cool moments in Wind Waker. One of my favorite moments is, it sounds odd, but when Medley gets the tune to play on the harp, and
Oh,
it
God,
shows like
yeah.
this spirit of the Zora playing.
That part's cool.
That one like hit me hard.
When you get to sail around with Medley on the back of your boat, I'm like, let's go on a date, Medley. Let's go. What island do you want to go?
Yeah,
on?
you have a crush on her.
Yeah. No, Link has a crush on her. They're getting together. I ship them. That's the term, right?
Yeah,
I ship them.
okay.
I was even gonna say like I really remember like the tower coming up after you get just the first part of the game done. Once you get the spiritual stones,
you line up
like, even
the-
though that's like ripped from other games, it's a like reiterative thing. But
what's
even in
this
Wind Waker,
area
it felt
here?
like really important.
I don't think that takes away from that particular moment.
Yeah. What's interesting is a lot of the moments you guys are bringing up. It's like a lot of cutscene moments.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's
But
fair.
those are,
Well,
I mean,
I
the
feel like
cutscene moments
story
are
is more
part of it.
important to
Yeah,
Zelda.
it's a stronger. It's definitely a stronger story, I think, than Resident Evil, where you just have these like, albeit
stronger
goofy
story,
and
yes.
funny like scenes where you're just like freaking Leon talking to the what's the name of the
Hunnigan.
Hunnigan. Yeah, I was thinking of
She's a
the
babe.
who's the villain that eventually gets the short guy that gets the
Salazar?
statue.
Oh,
Salazar.
yeah, Salazar.
Where he, like I remember a lot of cutscenes where he's like just going back and forth with Salazar. Like they always make me crack up. But it's more like, all right, let's get back to the game. Like what are we doing? Like Wind Waker, the cutscenes. I'm like, all right, get the popcorn out. Like I'm invested. I get a little teary eyed and something.
What I was bringing up is like a lot of exciting moments in Wind Waker seem more cutscene based, but for me, Resident Evil, the exciting moments are the gameplay.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the first time you're with Luis and you got to hole up in that
Oh
house.
god, we
and you
didn't.
gotta
I can't believe we didn't
barricade
talk
stuff.
about that yet.
How cool is that? You're
That was
just
such
like,
a cool
Like
moment.
when you're barricaded in, all the zombies are bursting through the windows and stuff.
You run upstairs, find the shotgun, you're like, oh thank God.
They start
Resident
coming up
Evil
the
has
stairs.
more-
Eventually, you retreat
Yeah.
to the upstairs because you can't hold them anymore.
All the different bosses going into you can bring out the military complex, and like even that's like a weirdly exciting moment because like by then at the end of the game you're decked out, maxed out tactical shotgun, sniper rifle, body armor possibly, and you're just like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Jeff, you had a point?
Oh, I was gonna say like the characters specifically in Resident Evil, they're more integrated into what's happening, and it sets up moments like that perfectly, where you're like barricaded inside the house. It's like they use it as a moment to drive the story forward, and also it becomes like a action moment where you like kind of bond with the character at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
That things are like happening.
Yeah.
It's like we're in this like together. Versus
that-
like in Wind Waker,
that's
you're by
sad-
yourself the
that's
whole
sad.
time.
Except for the dungeons.
Well, I mean, you do have medley, but you control them with like literal command
Yeah, it's kind of
technology.
annoying. It's kind of
and the-
annoying.
Like you literally command them.
There's
In the dungeons where you have companions or like the little statue things, I hated it.
They're
Okay, well,
actually
okay,
really annoying because
let's
you
compare
constantly have to use the Wind Waker to take control of them.
That's true. This is a great comparison that we can make between the two games because they both have escort.
They both have
parts
escort?
of the game,
What
which
is-
is something I didn't even think about till just
I
now.
hate Ashley's stuff.
What? But
I
it's
hate
so much better
really
than
good
help. It's so, like all the escort stuff in Resident Evil is better than Wind Waker.
I
though.
I don't think that the escort missions in Resident Evil 4 are that annoying. I really don't.
I respectfully disagree,
They're-
especially when
you-
Actually, go hide in the garbage for a while.
Like escort in
that's-
general
so
is just
what-
annoying. We're
what's the-
talking about like what the worst. Well, what's worse?
Well, let's see Lee's
Yeah,
like
sorry.
that's most of the time you're just like hide in garbage and let me play the game instead of like bringing her along with you. She's just an annoyance instead of like
I'd say to
something
Wind Waker's credit, at
integral
least
to
when
the-
you have like
Yeah.
the escort parts, it works itself into the puzzle. Like
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
really do much with Ashley.
Yeah.
Besides stop her from being taken away by men in red capes.
The actual escort sessions with Ashley aren't that long.
Yeah.
Like
they
do
don't
show
overstay
up,
their
and
welcome.
I think they give you the dumpster to hide her in because they're like, oh, we don't want to make this into an escort game. Just do what you need to finish
Right.
up, and then you can move on. That way, it doesn't feel like an escort mission where she's just taking hits and getting in the way. Which, when you point her gun, she ducks.
She does duck. That's pretty
That's
nifty.
fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
And then when you get to play as her, it's a completely different thing. Where, again, not really horror, but bringing back that tension. Where it's like you
don't
need to
have a
survive
gun.
as her. You need to dodge. You need to hide. You need to just like stall them and get out of there.
So we're
we
gonna
have
have
to
to start
give her a
interrupt
gun.
real quick. We're gonna have to start wrapping up soon. So
Okay.
just think of some final points.
The command melody stuff, though, in particular, it's annoying, I think, only because you constantly have to use the Wind Waker to retake control. Versus, like, it actually adds really good things. Like, when you in the dungeon with Medley, she has extra mechanics like gliding and all these other things that, like, add a lot to, like, what's happening in those dungeons, which I think is really cool. Like, Ashley doesn't really inherently add anything.
Yeah, she doesn't really help. Leon.
Like, there's no, she's just kind of there. It's not as bad in like an escort way, but at least you don't have to play the Wind Waker 100 times.
Ashley.
Don't come!
A last point I wanted to make we were talking about like characters, and there's the moment where you bond with these characters, but like in Resident Evil 4, I don't think they use them to the fullest extent they could have. Like with Luis, he just like spoiler alert for anyone who really cares. Luis just kind of like dies.
Yeah.
It's, like whatever. I don't even remember.
Very emotional.
Doesn't Salazar kill him, or
He gets stabbed in the back, I remember,
It's the
by
big-
something.
Like the guy who turns into the big lizard.
Oh, right.
Bug monster.
Yeah, Sadler steps in the back after he went
Yeah.
and found the
Right.
antidote for
Yeah.
the Las Plagas currently in Leon and Ashley.
But
It did feel kind of like he was just like sacrificed for an emotional moment kind of thing. Like,
And I'm not sure that was 100% earned. Where I think all of the like side characters in Wind Waker you do get invested in.
yeah.
Like Makar. Makar's great.
Yeah. I like Luis Serra. Me llamo Luis Serra. I like Luis, but he is not a great character. He's like,
I liked him
oh,
too."
Luis is here. Let's especially after that first like fight in the cabin where he like helps. He's there with you and he's actually shooting people.
I liked him too. It's just I don't think they used him.
Yeah,
to the,
he wasn't developed. Like,
No.
why did he even
Yeah.
care that much about you? Like, I don't get it. Like, he wasn't really developed very well.
Most characters in Resident Evil aren't developed.
Yeah,
They just are.
they're kind of just action characters.
but that
so,
yeah.
so we're gonna have to
Generic.
start voting.
Yeah.
This is tough.
Well, I do think Sunshine is the weakest of the three here, so
Yeah.
I listen on that one. In between Zelda and Resident Evil, it's super tough because I'm a bigger fan of the Zelda series than I am Resident Evil. And I brought this up earlier, and I think what really comes down to me is what are the most exciting high points between both games? And I think Resident Evil 4 has more, it's more consistent, and I look forward to those parts more. And going back and playing them, like I was immediately having fun with Resident Evil. And Wind Waker is like, consistent all the way through, but Resident Evil 4 I was like excited to play again. So I'm gonna give my vote to Resident Evil 4.
I think the gameplay in Resident Evil 4 is more important to Resident Evil 4, and it definitely have those highs, and it has like the more hype moments,
Yeah.
easily. But even though it has better gameplay, arguably than Wind Waker, I don't feel like that's all that important. I feel like the atmosphere of the game, the characters, the music, it's an experience. It's not just, oh, the gameplay's good, so I'm going to play this game. It's like, it's the world you're getting absorbed into. And I feel like the world of Wind Waker is better than the world of Resident Evil 4. And I think that's why I'm going to go Wind Waker.
Even though like Wind Waker is kind of Zelda formula at this point, I still think it stands out as one of the best Zelda games just in the entire franchise. Piggybacking off of what Shane said though, I think Resident Evil has some of the more hype moments for sure, but I think overall as a like fantasy adventure experience, Wind Waker just delivers something like wholly awesome and unique. Even if it borrows elements from the previous Zelda games, it really kind of masterfully puts them into this new world. And
you feel absorbed.
yeah, like I'm just much more into it than I am like Resident Evil. And I think that it's not necessarily to do with the story, but that might have a bigger part of it just because like the story in Resident Evil is really just kind of action movie kind of B-movie stuff. And so
arguably fun. But,
yeah. So I think for those reasons, I'm gonna have to go Wind Waker.
Can we take 5?
What will it be, Peanut Butter Gamer?
Oh my god. This is the toughest 3-game bracket we've done. I feel like even Mario Sunshine, you could make an argument for it. I wouldn't personally against these 2 games, but it's like I really do like Mario Sunshine. Anyway, I'm stalling for time. I'm baffled at how hard of a decision this is for me on the spot. Because Wind Waker, obviously Zelda's my favorite game franchise, and Wind Waker is either my second or third Zelda game, depending on what day of the week you ask me. But I have such a soft spot for Resident Evil 4. It's one of my favorite games to play. It really is, and I'm having a hard time like discounting that. Like
That's why I've been quiet most of this episode. I've just been like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, like I went into this like Wind Waker, I don't think I'm going to be able to vote against it no matter what, but I'm sitting here like Resident Evil is one of the most fun games I've ever played. Like it really is. And there's points in Wind Waker that it kind of draws out a little bit, especially the GameCube version. And I can't think of any moment. I know Jared was saying that he thought that a game drug on a little bit. I don't think it does. I love every moment of Resident Evil 4. And there's so many moments, like Jared was also saying, there's so many points in the game where I'm like, oh man, I'm coming up to this part. And I'm like genuinely excited, which is like a 28-year-old adult. That is not a feeling I get a lot.
Well, I think Jared takes all the negative comments made about Resident Evil 4 back.
Yeah, the game's perfect. Dang! What a revelation!
Well,
Different Resident Evil.
Since I'm forcing you to vote, literally right now.
I'm gonna regret this literally 5 minutes after we turn the cameras off, but I'm gonna vote for Resident Evil 4. I really am.
Dang!
I love Resident Evil 4. It's one of my favorite games of all
That's
time.
legitimately surprising to me.
It's legitimately surprising to me as well.
Guys, come on.
But you gotta vote right now.
I'm clear.
These are two of the best games on this console, and two of my favorite games on the console. It's like up there, funnily enough, with Melee and Metroid Prime. Resident Evil 4 is such a fun, cool, awesome, complete, whole experience.
Easily replayable.
Super fun.
With good progression.
I have a lot of personal history with that game. It was like my 16th birthday present. My friends and I just played it.
My first M-rated game, I think.
Yeah. And it's great. Man, Wind Waker, I think Wind Waker is the GameCube. Like, it's one of the games that is just, I think GameCube, I think Melee, and Wind Waker.
So I think what you're saying is that Wind Waker is the essence.
No!
I wasn't gonna say it, but
Okay.
Everyone's thinking
yes, everyone is thinking.
Literally all four of us were thinking about saying that.
It's fun. It's such a cool world. There's water in it.
There's water.
I'm taking mine back. I vote sunshine. There's water.
Insert IGN review joke in there somewhere.
So I have to give this one to Wind Waker. But like I said, it is this is comparing another 98 and 99 out of 100 game.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, and you just voted for the 98.
I was honestly like that close to Resident Evil 4. Just so close because it is hype as
Which is how we rate every game. I'm honestly glad that you picked Wind Waker because I feel like some people would have given me some crap if Wind Waker didn't make it. Link, no!
Oops.
That's not a good sign for the finals. Toon Link got knocked over.
I think this episode kind of really encapsulates what I like about this series because
This series sucks.
because
Resident Evil should have won.
Because it's getting people to vote against things that you don't you expect them to vote for, like Austin, and it's madness, man. It's madness.
It's just 25 minutes or so of like mad arguments and then like changing my mind 24/7 and then regretting it the next morning. It's like madness is like a hangover. It's like just drinking a lot of alcohol. It's so fun, and then afterwards I'm like, why did I do that?
It's like drinking a lot of alcohol.
Who do you think should have gone on to the winners finals? Let us know down below. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe because we have new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. And we're continuing the winners bracket next episode. Also check out earlier episodes of GameCube Madness in case you missed them.